Hello, and welcome to Sponge Stories, the podcast for face painters by face painters. I'm Siobhan, the face behind Theatrics Faces, and I'm on a mission to lift the lid on what it really takes to build a face painting business, the good, the messy, and everything in between. Each episode, I'll be chatting to artists, industry experts, and real working face painters about the things that we don't always talk about. Pricing struggles, burnout, confidence, boundaries, growth, and how to actually make this job work for your life. So whether you're painting your first full face or juggling a fully booked diary this year, you're in the right place. Let's get straight into today's episode. Nick, welcome to Sponge Stories. For anyone who has been living under a rock and hasn't come across your work, you are a world champion body painter, the co-founder of Wolfe FX Paints, international educator, and one half of one of the most influential partnerships I think the face painting industry has ever seen. And it's a real privilege to have you here on the podcast today with me. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So can we go right back to the beginning? What sort of kid were you growing up? Just jump in there.
Brian and I were into makeup at a very young age. I have a black and white Polaroid of us in prosthetic makeup. We were like 7 years old.
Wow.
We had this amazing Hugo doll. It was a doll that you could put on. He was a man of 1,000 faces. So he had all kinds of beards and a telltale heart eye and noses and chins, all sorts of stuff. But they were adhesive, so you stick them on the doll, but you could also stick them to yourself. But
cool.
it's a black and white picture, and we're 7 years old, so it's like, wow, that's pretty telling. And then in middle school, Brian and I were enrolled in this ELP, it was called, Enhanced Learning Program, and one of the courses was stop motion animation film. And that's what got us into, we're like, you can make your own films. It was Super 8. So our friend in school had a Super 8 camera with the animation thing, and then we got a Super 8 camera, and then we just started making movies in middle school. And then I guess when we got older and graduated high school, we started playing guitar, and I don't know, chasing girls or something. We just kind of left the dream of being Hollywood makeup artists behind and started doing the rock star thing. And then when the rock star thing fizzled out, we did that for 5-6 years and got so far. But then we went to Halloween Horror Nights for Brian's girlfriend's birthday. And that's when we saw the parade for Halloween. And they had Darkness from Legend, somebody dressed up like him with a full, the Tim Curry character with the huge horns. And they had blinks and they had all these prosthetic makeup characters, and it just hit me like a bolt of lightning. You should move to Orlando and get a job at Universal, because that's what you wanted to do to begin with. And now you don't have to move to
Where did you grow
Hollywood.
up?
St. Petersburg,
Right,
which is near Tampa, and Tampa Bay, which is an hour and a half from Orlando. So we went there to, so that's how I found out. I'd never seen prosthetic makeup anywhere in public before, Hollywood makeup. I always thought I had to move to Hollywood, and there were, I was struggling to pay the bills, much less to move to California where it was really expensive.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, move to Orlando, we could do that. And so that's what I told Brian. I was like, that's what we got to do. And I'm leaving with you or without you. This is
How
it.
old were you then?
That was in 97. So I think I was 30, 28, 29, 30, something like that.
So what had you been doing before then? Because that's quite a leap. You've been in a band.
Yeah. Oh, when I was 24, that's when I was like, I'm going to be a rock star. Screw this. Dude, that's what I realized doing the regular jobs like everybody, like the muggles. I'm like, I'm just not fit to be employed. In hindsight, I'm convinced, yeah, I struggled at regular jobs. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to be a rock star, because we were into heavy metal and we played guitar, and we gave everything and into it, and we toured around Florida. But it was hard, and it would be like we'd be really going, and we'd put out a CD, and then the bass player would quit. And then we'd have to find a new bass player and teach them all the songs, and then get them back into it, and then start playing out again, and then start writing, and then maybe even record a song. And there goes the drummer. And it was just a cycle like that, and we just after 6 years, we were like,
Yeah.
let's do makeup instead."
Do you still play now?
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you?
I got guitars hanging on the wall.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
Jade is
cool.
very supportive of my hobbies and habits. It's not a big house, but she gives me I have little spaces.
Little bits of wall.
Yeah, I usually wait until everybody leaves. Jade's daughter lives here, so I wait till she goes to school and then Jade goes to work, and then I subject the dogs to my play. But what's cool, I never had an Alexa before, I
Mm.
always had to play with, cassette tapes or whatever, and now I can go, "Alexa, play Master of Puppets by Metallica," and then I can play along with the
Yeah,
Alexa in the kitchen. So,
that's cool. What
yeah.
was it like working so closely with, Brian then, who twin brother?
Well, it was always like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we were always best friends. We were always interested in the same thing, always making stuff, always making movies, making makeup, making costumes, making music. It was just my partner always.
Do
So
you have any
going
other
into fate.
siblings, or was it just you 2?
No, I kind of have two more. I got a younger brother that he moved out with my dad when he was 11, I think. And so we were separated, and then we got back together once he was 18. And then we were best mates for a long time, but yeah, he's flown the coop again. And then my other brother is adopted by my dad and my stepmom. And I haven't heard from them since COVID either, which is one of my inspirations to move to England.
Did you
Uh,
move around COVID time to England?
I started coming over here.
Mm.
Well, I moved in with Jade for 6 months during lockdown because I lost everything: car, job, house. My lease was up during that beginning
Mm.
time. And because everybody was out of a job, they wouldn't let me I couldn't sign a new one. And then everybody was like, "Well, you can squat, squat. Everybody's squatting and, they can't do anything about it." And I'm like, "Well, it's still wrong to
Yeah.
squat, even if I don't go to jail for it. And two, if I get out when I'm supposed to get out, I get my deposit back. And I
Mm.
kinda need $1,100 right now." So that's what I did. And then, I had a friend that I used to work with up in Kentucky that had a granny flat, and his parents died, and it was attached to a garage, and that's where he used to do foam latex appliances. And he would say, "Hey, anytime you want to come to Kentucky and make some appliances, I got a whole lab with an apartment attached to it
Mm.
and out in the yard, and you can have a day." So I called him up. I was like, "Hey, is that offer to come stay out there and make appliances still open?" And I wound up doing that for 4 months, but it was in the middle of nowhere.
Mm.
Everything was closed, everything was locked down. It was this crazy isolated torture chamber, but I would talk to Jade. I met Jade just before that happened, and we were talking on the phone, like, every day
Mm.
until 5 o'clock when she'd go to bed, right? So, and then I'd call as soon as I woke up because we had a time difference. But,
Mm.
yeah, she was my sanity during that whole thing.
Was it wildly different over there to how it was here? Did Jade say that it was more extreme in America, the sort of response to COVID, than here?
I don't think I didn't see a a big difference, to be
Mm.
honest. I mean, the big everybody kinda had the same rules, and the whole world seemed to be in on it, and but in both places, like, the birds were going crazy, like, all the birds and the bugs and the animals
Mm.
were all loving it, right? That's one thing I remember. And then so Jade's like, he's like, "You gotta go. I don't care where you go. You gotta go." Okay. Because he said he was selling his house. And I'm like, "You're selling your house during a global pandemic lockdown." Okay. All right. So Jade's like, "Well, can you come over here? Are you allowed to come to England?"
Mhm.
I had no idea. So I looked it up, and then another friend of mine loaned me $700, and I came over, and we had the best time.
Yeah.
Jade had this little house in this tiny village that only had a pub and a church that were both closed.
Mm.
but it was so quiet and it was so tiny, and she had a hot tub
Nice.
with a in this gazebo outside her house. It was the best. It snowed, we did a snow Godzilla and got on the BBC News. It was a
Wow.
5-foot tall snow Godzilla because nothing was happening.
Yeah.
There was nothing to report, like,
Yeah.
that was big news. Somebody built a snowman, you know? It was
So
great.
when you and Brian worked together then, so when you started doing the face paints, because you started out in the theme parks, didn't you?
Yeah, we did get that job at Universal
Yeah.
Studios doing the Halloween Horror Nights parade,
Mm.
and, and working there is where we met the face painters that also worked at Universal, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, you guys are the Halloween makeup artists? Well, we do Halloween 365 days a year at the face painting booth." And, "What job is this?" And we walked over there, and it was next to the Monster Cafe, and it was that kiosk out front that had the Frankenstein, Dracula, and Creature from the Black Lagoon on top rotating, and then in the kiosk, the full-length mirror was in a coffin. The
Mm.
chair you sit in to get painted was an electric chair, and then all the face paints were Jaws, Terminator, all the Universal monsters. It had
Yeah.
Spider-Man and or no, at the time, it didn't have Spider-Man. It had other stuff, but, Brian got the job there first, and he would come home with all these cool face paints and all these cool stories, and I was working at Islands of Adventure while it was being built, so I was doing fiberglass repair on rides and painting and stuff like that, and then when the park started to open, had the soft open, my job went to a night job, and I lasted, like, half a night. I'm like, "Hey, are those face painters hiring?" And then I went to work with him at Enjoy Your Face, and they had just gotten a contract at Animal Kingdom. So I went, and Brian went with me, but he had 6 months of experience.
So did they do training with you?
I did one day. They put us in a it was like some kinda nursery, and we painted the kids for free, and I know I painted a kid like a bunny. I don't really remember what else, and I know it wasn't good. And then we got a gig at Animal Kingdom, and it was something at night for a couple of hours, and that's when I got the whole setup.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at the picture, and I'm looking at the kid's face, and going back and forth like, "Okay, well, how do I use this?" And Brian, okay, he's in it 6 months, he just holds up the sponge, he's like, "Use the sponge." And I'm like, "Great," barely got through the night, but, I guess, I don't know, I was watching people do it and, just kinda yeah, I think it was just trial by fire, just throwing me in the thing, and
Mhm.
it took me a while to learn the teardrops and the swirls and stuff like that. It took me a long time to learn those, but I knew how to draw dragons because I knew how to or whatever monster. They had this Terminator face on their sign, and imagine a diagonal line going through the middle. The top half is silver with like rectangle bricks with rivets on them, and then 3 teardrops for blood coming out of the edge, and that's Terminator, and we're standing next to the
Mhm.
ride. So it's like, well, actually, it's a chrome skull that's been shot with a shotgun and exposed, and there's blood all over it, like and they're like, "Yeah, but you gotta paint it in 5 minutes or less." I'm like, "Well, you could do the same amount of lines. Look at all this work for it to look like a side of a battleship, It doesn't look anything like a skull."
Mhm.
So we redesigned that and showed everybody, "Oh, look, you can do this just as fast. It looks 10 times better." And then they're like, "What about this?" Then they put these booth cameras at the booth, these, disposable instant cameras.
Mhm.
And if you did something that was really cool and it was a good idea and possibly better than what we had on the sign, take pictures. So me and Brian were like, challenge accepted. Every day we're either painting on each other or painting on ourselves and trying to do bigger and better and crazier and take pictures. We had a whole portfolio for painting that way for years of physical pictures that they have the other copy, because remember, or maybe you don't remember, it was always 2 for 1 prints when you got your pictures done at Eckerd's, right?
I do remember physical photos, but thank you for thinking I'm young enough not to.
Yeah, they so they have a copy of the paintings we
Mm.
did back then, and we got a stack. and then they got the negatives, and it's somebody took our book along the way. So, like, all those years, 4.5 years or whatever of paintings, I'm like, "Well, there were so good ones." Like, I
No, I
really do
wonder
wish
if
I
they're
had
still
my
around somewhere.
oh,
Like, yeah, someone's got
somebody
them.
took it at a convention. Somebody nicked it. It wasn't like we left it somewhere. Somebody took it.
Someone
Some
actually stole
fan
it.
something yeah, somebody's got
Wicked.
it.
So did you work very similarly together then? Did you fall into different roles, or were one of you better at one style than the other, or how did you work?
No, you could tell them apart. I mean, I thought I was a better painter, but he probably thought he was. But it was all very similar, and
Mm,
that's why it was easy to work together, and we'd always worked together. So when we started teaching, we ran into a problem because every once in a while he would do something and I would criticize it there in class or whatever, and he would get so pissed. And then one time, there's this zodiac website called astro.com, and if you
mm,
know your birthplace, your time, and all that, you could plug it in and it'll give you a great horoscope, a proper one. And then if you plug somebody else's information in, it'll tell you how you relate with each other. So, like, you could, scope out your girlfriend before you get married. But me and Brian are only 5 minutes apart. So, I have his information memorized. So I plugged
mm,
me and him in, and it said, if you do this in public and you just, and you put them down or something like that, they will go from 0 to 100, like, in a split second. It described the whole thing. And so we're
mm,
like, it's the thing. Okay. On the road, first of all, we can't argue within earshot of any face painters because they freak out when they hear us fight, so we can't let them hear us
it's like hearing your
argue.
parents arguing and
Yeah,
bickering.
we can't let the kids hear us fight. And two, if that happens, wait, hold on, and wait till the end and we get away and it'll give you a chance to cool down anyway.
Mm.
Just don't have it out in the middle of class. And then that pretty much cleared that up.
Looking back, what do you think made the Wolf twins stand out from everybody else at the time in the industry?
We were men, good looking, identical men.
Mm.
We were the only guys. I'm practically the only guy now. You go to a Facebook. I just went to a show. It's all women. And
Mm.
then on the Friday, they had college students come in. They had all these makeup students come in. Must have been a bus of 50 of one guy. There's
Mm.
one guy on that bus. All the makeup students were all women. When I started at Universal Studios, it was all men. And
Really?
they were all about, their desk was full of Star Wars toys and Todd McFarlane, and they're just monster heads, just like us. Grew
Oh.
up trying to make movies and makeup and all that stuff. We're all exactly the same. And now it's all women. To be honest, when I first started, when Weiser first showed up and
Yeah, yeah.
Dutch kinda showed up about the same
I
time.
met him the other week at the London Gem, actually.
Weiser? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. He's
Yeah, I couldn't
really
make it
cool.
out. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
really
he's a
cool.
very cool dude. Well, when he came over, he was coming from urban, spray paint art,
Mm.
right? What's it called? Graffiti, right? He was really big into that. And then, Dutch was an illustrator, and, I thought, here it comes. Now it's out how much fun me and Brian are having. Now here comes the graffiti guy. Here comes the illustrator. Next, it's going to be the t-shirt airbrushers. Next, it's going to be the cover artist. Next, then it's going to be, and then I'm just going to be an average artist like I always thought I was. I'm not I'm great in face painting because face painting is only 5 minutes or less. Nobody's going to
Mm.
paint anything that great, on a squirming kid in 5 minutes. So it's like easy to shine, right? But once the other guys that are better than me, the people that I admire, the artists that I look up to, which aren't face painters, when they find out that you can do the same thing, oh, I'm going to be out of business. Yeah. And then it never happened. And Weiser's still here and Dutch is still here. And yeah, that's about it.
Have you done, like, prosthetic work for films and body makeup for films and stuff?
A couple.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just didn't think it was as fun.
Okay.
It's lot of hurry up and wait.
Mm.
And I don't know, I just enjoyed the face painting was so much more immediate.
So would you ever I'm just thinking because 'cause they're remaking the Harry Potter films, aren't they, into the series, and they're filming a lot of it, obviously, in the UK, and I think they're using I saw a casting call come out the other day because I live not far from where the studios are. Would you do any of the sort of prosthetics and the special effects for that if they asked?
Sure, I would.
Yeah.
Heck, I'd go back to work at Universal Studios when that opens,
Yeah.
because it's England. Everybody's like,
Yeah, that's literally right near me where that's gonna
"Yeah."
open. I could do that.
Everybody's,
You stay where you are. I'll do that. It's right near
"Oh,
me.
I could take the bus to work. That's not a bad."
Where because 'cause you're over, Oxford way, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna be coming. I've only got here in December,
Mm.
and, getting a real job, oh, it's hard. I'm getting gigs, they're starting to pick up, but, sure, I'd like to do one of those. I know you guys got different, like, rules and regulations over here.
Because 'Cause you're doing a lot of teaching, aren't you? I've, signed up to the masterclass that you're doing up in Telford in July. Is that what you're sort of doing work-wise at the moment, doing the
Well,
teaching and the training?
that's what I was doing before COVID.
Yeah.
So it's, nothing's the same before. And also everybody's feeling a little tight right now.
Mm.
So I was talking to Mateo about it at the bath about, you know, is this what we're supposed are we supposed to be like making TikTok videos like feverishly right now? Are we supposed to be learning AI advertising right now? Or are we I personally am getting back to basics.
Mm.
I got a garden and I've got beds and a greenhouse and a lawn to take care of, and I got a studio, and I'm like, I'm gonna make stuff and grow stuff and take care of this family, and that's what
Yeah.
I'm focused on. To wait to see what happens next. So,
So you've been around long enough to see, like you were just saying, big changes in the face painting industry. It's very different now to how it was during COVID and before COVID. What did
mm,
it look like when you first started working as a face painter?
it was just so much tinier because when I
Yeah.
first started, the only face painters of note that anybody ever heard of was Olivier Zegers was working at a company called Fardell, and
Mm.
he had a video cassette, a VHS cassette of how he did his makeup techniques, and he had a very today it would even stand out as a very striking, specific style. And my boss at Enjoy Your Face really loved it, so she made us all watch it. And that was my kind of second exposure. First, I got the job face painting, and
Mm.
then I was exposed to some of the culture. Then the owner of Enjoy Your Face used to live in Germany and worked at Fantasia with this guy named Rene Reich. And he was making a new book, which is called Funky Faces. And the American version is Face Painting for Instruction and Inspiration, I think it's called. And he contacted Carmel and said, "Hey, you got any good painters in your organization? We're making a book. We're German painters and American painters." And it turns out that painting faces is a separate skill than making books about it, because you have to take that design that you're doing and divide it up into separate comprehensible steps, possibly each step having one color exclusively. It's not how we paint,
Mm.
and then to divide that up in your mind and then execute each step perfectly so it turns out like you want it to at the very end, and explain all the stuff. And not everybody could do that. Some of the best painters in our company were like, lost when it came to that, where me and Brian excelled. So we wound up doing like a third of the book,
Yeah.
and helped everybody with theirs too. And then when that book got published, that's when we got invited to sell that book and these practice heads that we made at Marcella's convention, the Face and Body Art convention in
Mhm.
Orlando. And when we first went to that, we were like, face painters have conventions? So how was the industry when we went? We're just completely unaware of the whole
Mm.
thing. Doing it for months and months, and I don't know, maybe a year before we knew. any other face painters. And then we went to the face painting convention, and because everybody in our business, you work a different park all the time. And then each time you work at the park, you got 4 or 5, sometimes 6 painters to paint with. So you're always looking over your shoulder going, how are you doing this butterfly? And then you would steal little bits from all the people you work with and then tell your butterfly was the best one. And they would steal it back. And we go back and forth, back and forth. And then we're also competing, trying to get faster and race and who can do the better one and stuff like that. It was friendly competition, but
Mm.
that's just the nature of the beast. Whereas all the other face painters are just by themselves. There's no internet. There's no, you know what I mean? It's like they're doing their birthday parties wherever they're at and are not exposed at all to anybody else. So we were so far out in front in a
Mm.
way. Like everybody was painting lightning fast. We had all these fresh ideas. We had all these, Marvel characters and all the Disney and all this stuff from all these parks, like already worked out, already, public tested, tried and true. And then they were like, "Do you want to teach a class?" Sure. I'll just go up there and show them how I do Venom and Beast and all these characters that I do at work. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, that was the best thing ever." And we're like, "The best thing ever? Well then I'm gonna keep doing this." And then, oh yeah, Ginny what also had her Maron thing going on, her sponsorship, but that was it. There were no famous face painters. And then the original guys from Wolf Brothers Face Art and Effects, they approached Marcella because they went to a convention and tried to sell face painting crayons that they were buying from this guy in China. And they said, "Oh, face painting convention, we'll sell these face painting crayons to the face painters. Genius." So they go there and everybody ragged on and said, "We don't paint with crayons. We paint with cakes and brushes and sponges." And so the guys went back to the Chinaman and said, "Can you make us face paint for the skin only like watercolors like this? And it's a cake and it's a palette with a brush." And this company already made watercolors for kids for paper. So they sent him samples of this makeup in a watercolor sample tray, with the little square containers in that tray. And then he went back to the convention. He went back to Marcella at the face painting convention and says, "Hey, is there anybody that can be like a frontman for this? Like somebody
Mm.
like Ginny for Maron or Olivier for Fardell. Is there anybody like who's the cool face painter that we can get to represent our paint?" And they said, "You should get the Wolf Brothers. They can talk, they can paint. They're twins, and their last name is Wolf. Like if you can't market that, you need to go back to the drawing board or something, right?" So then they called us up, and then they sent us that sample of the paint. Said, "We want to, we want to talk to you about representing our paint. What do you think?" And then we had been doing Krylon cakes with Maron liquid makeup on top, and you put a little bit of water and Maron liquid, and with the combination of that, you could get a pretty decent line, and it would
Mm.
go long if you loaded up your brush right. But with this wolf makeup, with this Joseph Shoe makeup from China, it was just as soon as you dip your brush and worked it up, you could do the line forever and
Yeah.
ever. And then they had this beautiful metallic green, and we were like, "This stuff is awesome." And then we went to go do the meeting with those guys, and they said, "We want to name it after you, and you tell us what colors you want,
Mm.
and it's going to be this whole thing or whatever." And yeah, that's how that came to be.
Just before we go any further, is your dog sat near the phone?
Yes, is she breathing hard?
Yes, I think you might be snoring into the audience.
Okay, it's like, uh, sure.
'Cause I know you're not involved with the company anymore, but everyone still talks about that line of sort of the white paint for line work being the ultimate. If you can get a hold of it, it's the ultimate.
Yeah.
Just how good it
Well,
was.
because it was coming from China, they don't have the same regulations
Mm.
that we do, and it was very all over the place. Like we'd be running low on gold. We're like, okay, we got to order some more gold, and it's coming in a ship and in a boat. from China. So it would take forever to get here. So we better order everything we need. Then it would finally get there and it would be like metallic yellow. It would be a
Mm.
different gold. And we're like, looks like we got a new color, metallic yellow. That's how crazy it was. For the 4.5 years I was there, we never did get on top of the white. Every time we'd order the white, we would we would sell out and then we'd be out and then we'd order twice as much the next time and it would we could never buy enough. But and that's the some of the stuff we disagreed on, like me and Brian just wound up being right about pretty much everything. We're like, the white and black are our best sellers. We should like dump all the money into the best sellers and make sure this part of the market, which is the most successful, is taken care of, and then maybe take whatever's left and do it and invest it in some of the projects that aren't selling as well. Their idea was dump a bunch of money into the side of the business that isn't making any money to build it up so it is as good as the side that's making money. I suppose is just another philosophy or way of working, but yeah,
What are some things that newer painters take for granted now that just didn't exist back when you started?
the internet, the internet, because now everybody can share
Mm.
ideas with artists across the world. Now, it isn't just the 6 artists I got to work with at Animal Kingdom or the 3 over at SeaWorld. It's the whole world. You can collaborate and see what everybody's doing. And yeah, that's everything. Like I used to go to the bookstore religiously and I'd go to the magazines and pull out a bunch of magazines. I'd go get some Dungeons and Dragons books or whatever they had there. And I'd sit and flip through, especially the tattoo magazines.
Mm.
'Cause for every month, they were full of different styles of artwork and all on the body. So I just go through with my phone and take pictures and
Yeah,
drink coffee, and then when COVID hit, you couldn't go to the bookstore,
isn't it?
but now you could just go on, like, Instagram or whatever and dial in dragon or dial in whatever it is you wanna there's so much art, it's in your hand. You don't have to go to the bookstore, you don't have to go anywhere. It's all that
Do
you
you
can
think
just
it
sit at
can?
your job and go, "How do you do Pikachu?" "Pikachu face paint." And there it is. Like, you don't have to develop me and Brian used to go to the toy store all the time,
Mm.
and the girl and our girls would rag on us or whoever would rag on us, "Oh, going to the toy store?" It's like, we're doing market research for the job. You go down the aisle at the boys section, and you'll see what's hot. Is it Ninja Turtles? Is it Transformers? Whatever's hot is in the aisle. Same thing with the girls. Oh, it's Bratz. Oh, it's My Little Pony. And it is market research. Plus, I love to see what's out next. What's the new toy, and what's the cool new plastic art.
Do you think that the social media can be a negative though, in terms of sort of like comparing yourself in the industry? Because I've chatted to quite a few people now, and something we'll all sort of say is that I do my best not to do it anymore, but it's really hard not to get sucked in by all these beautiful things that people have done, and then just instantly think, oh God, I'm rubbish. I'm not good enough. I'm not
Yeah.
good enough. And I have to, it's work in progress and I'm getting there, but everybody's got their own art style and stuff, but you can fall into that trap of looking at something on social media that someone spent 4 hours creating and comparing it to something that you did in 4 minutes on a child's face who, like you said, was wiggling and
Well,
moving on
such
the job.
such is life. Brian and I read a ton of self-help health books. I started after my divorce in 2004, which was
Mm,
the same year we started with Wolf, coincidentally. I got kicked out of the house for being a loser face painter, not going anywhere. And I said, "Hey, no, I got it. I got something. This is gonna turn into something. I got a sliver of a niche. I can exploit this." He
mm.
was like, "Nope. You're making 750 an hour painting faces at SeaWorld, loser." That's all right. That's another good thing about social media is she watched it on social media. She watched the whole Wolf FX travel
Yeah,
around the world, winning the World Body Paint Festival. She watched the whole thing on, and then her and her parents both wound up calling and apologizing.
yeah. I was gonna say, I
Yeah,
don't
who
think
does
you
that?
get more of a success story, do you really, in terms of face
No, and
painting?
that's what I told her I was gonna do too. And they were like, "Nope." not good enough.
You've won some of the highest awards in body painting. So, I mean, that is a success story, right? How do you global competition winner?
Well, it is there is a I believe there's a formula. And I think the way we won it was a combination of continuing to go and learning what is expected, what is the high, who's winning every year, what is this, and then learning the criteria, and then getting a theme that is something that you can work with,
Mm.
work your style into.
What attracted you to do competitions then?
Well, we were working with Wolfe FX,
Mm.
and then somebody must have contacted us and said there's a body paint festival in Austria, and they said, "Oh, we're gonna send you guys to that." And so at the time, I think the internet was kind of new because we didn't even research it. We showed up with nothing but our paint kits, and we wound up meeting a girl at the bar the night before the show. We talked her into being the model the next day. And then we didn't know everybody was wearing these headdresses and fingernails and all the stuff that they do. We had no idea about that. So we found somebody that helped us do her hair. We met a girl at a bar that did hair, basically. And then we all came together the next morning, and 40 degrees. All the models were passing out, throwing up, including ours. She kept doubling over, and we kept having to repaint her neck and her stomach. And me and Brian literally thought this was on purpose. We're in the middle of Austria, and we're like, sure, anybody can be a body painter in the middle of their living room with the air conditioner on. But can you come out to Austria and paint in 40 degrees with everybody passing out and paramedics running around? Right? That's world class body
Yeah.
painting, we thought. So then the next heat, the Sunday, we redesigned our painting to have no neck and no midriff. So we
Mm.
didn't have to keep repainting it. But it wasn't as hot that day, so we didn't mind it anyway. But it was very trial by error. And then on the night they announced the winners, we got 10th, and we were thrilled. We were like, we got top 10 in the world. Woo! It seemed like it was definitely a role, and it just seemed like one success after another in some things. And then I remember when we debuted the makeup at Sabaic, we were like avoiding the main hallways just because we were just being mobbed everywhere we went. It was so crazy, like a Michael Jackson concert or something like that. And then it got we just kept winning, winning, winning for the next 4 years, and then, we were working out of a house, and so we were doing so good, we finally moved into a workspace that had, like, bay doors and stuff like that, so we could move out the products and way better. And then Brian and I went somewhere because we were the international ambassadors, and we were the teachers and everything like that, and, we came back to get our new office, and that's when they pulled the plug and were like, "You guys don't get an office. You guys don't even get a key. You guys are gonna work from home now." And yeah, and it was out of left field for us,
Mm.
and Brian's wife worked there too, and, oh, they were giving her all kinds of hard time, and I won't go into lots of details, but we just packed up we were just like, "Oh, you guys don't wanna work together anymore? You guys are literally kicking us out of our own business? Okay, that's the way it is, alright." We just left our, business credit cards on the counter and took our stuff out of the office and went home and didn't hear anything until, when we used to do the shows all the time, like the trade shows, we were always friendly with the other brands.
Mm.
We were always nice to Marty, or who is the guy, Gary from Snazaroo, or Joe Quartz from it. We didn't matter who it was. We're making friends. So Graftobian, Eric from Graftopia calls us up and says, "What the heck? I just heard the Wolf Brothers just canceled the Wolf Brothers or just fired the Wolf Brothers." And we're like, "Yep." And he's like, "Awesome. You want to work for me? I got this show coming up." And we're like, "Heck yeah." And then when we went to go do the show with Eric, Wolf served us with a cease and desist and said that we were breaching contract because we weren't supposed to work for another face painting company.
Mm.
Meanwhile, they owed me and Brian still $186,000 in back
Jesus.
pay and 20% of the company. So we're like, you didn't pay us, so you're breaching the contract. You locked us out of the office and you still owe us money. You still owe us 20% of the company. How are we breaching the contract? And so we wound up, then they sued us for $800,000 plus the almost $200,000 that they owed us. So they basically sued us for $1 million. And we had some friends that were lawyers that we used to drink with at this really fancy bar on Wednesday nights, and they agreed to represent us, but this litigation is going for, I don't know, a year. And then they turned out being friends with Wolf's lawyers, and then they dropped us. So then we had to get another lawyer. It took like 4 years to get through that
Mm.
litigation. And at the end, we just wanted it to be over. We were so sick of it. We were so sick of fighting. We were like, so we wound up settling out of court. And because the lawyer said, if we go to court, you could win, but you could also lose. And I've seen enough court cases. It doesn't matter if you're right. It doesn't,
Yeah.
that none of that shit matters. If you settle out of court, you get something. And so we got a fraction of what we were owed, but we
Mhm.
were out, and then we had to start over again. But me and Brian we were the ones that were shaking hands with everybody on the road. We were the ones that had the relationships, not
Yeah.
the people back in the office that thought they were the cause. And so we just named our own business. Did we go back to Evil Twin Productions? That was our original before Wolf.
It's Evil Twin
Evil
FX,
Twin
I think.
FX. Yep. We went
Did my
back to
research.
FX and started self-publishing our books because we learned a lot when we were with Wolf, of course,
Mm.
and we learned how to make our own books. So we started doing that and doing the workshops. Only instead of going through them and having them take our money and give us a paycheck, we were getting all the money. So the peak of that part of our career, we made 40 grand in 1 year each
Oh.
teaching face painting, and we toured Australia, New Zealand,
Mm.
and we were all over the place that year. Australia was a big tour though. Australia, New Zealand was like 8 cities or whatever, and they were all packed. They all had 15, 20 students each. So, oh yeah, we rolled that over. But that's and then that's when Brian got cancer. And then so we had I felt like we just recovered, that was our
Yeah.
goal year. We're like, we're back, and then that happened. And then to keep it going while Brian was home and while Brian was in the hospital, well, that was all I could do. And it's like,
Mm.
if you're making other people happy, right? The show must go on. You're having a bad day. Well, go to a birthday party. you Nobody gives a shit about your problems at the birthday party. Paint
Yeah.
faces. Let's dance, monkey, dance. But it turns out it's good therapy. Sitting at
Mm.
home moping is not going to help anything. Going out and making some people happy, it is good therapy because service to others. It's like you get what you give. You need comforting, go comfort somebody.
What's some of your favorite memories of working with Brian then?
Probably doing the demo, I loaded up this dark green sponge. I was gonna paint this dragon on him, and there's a video of it online, but you can't appreciate it because it's zoomed in on Brian's face, and I press it on his eyebrow. I'm getting ready to drag it across to do a horn, and this stream of dark green paint goes right down his nose and into his mouth, and instantly turns his whole smile dark green. And it's being projected on the wall behind us. So I'm like this, and I see this big green smile on the wall. And sometimes when you start laughing and you can't stop, you can't talk, things like that. That's when he kept his cool and he kept talking and stuff. And I was crying. I was crying. Even when we went to shady countries during our tours, we've
Mm.
come back to the hotel. One time we came back in Guatemala and they were like, people get killed here, you idiots. What do you mean you went to Hooters? Do not leave this hotel unescorted. You guys don't speak the language. They were like exasperated with us. We're
Yeah.
like, whatever. We're both 6 foot, 200 pounds, obviously brothers, and brothers fight death. Everybody knows that. Like there was probably easier targets. We probably got away with more than some people.
How has your relationship with your work changed since losing him?
Well, to be honest, I kind of fallen off. A lot of my reason to do it, a lot of my fire, a lot of my thirst was from him.
Mm,
And he had a family to take care of, and so I was happy with what we were doing and how much money we were making and
mm,
how much we were working compared to how much money we were making, but he was like the go-getter, he's like, "No, we
mm,
gotta do this and this and this, bigger, better, more. I got a daughter and a wife," and then when he was gone, then it was just back to just me, myself. Like, I had no desire to be like, "Oh, I have to be more famous and get in some more magazines or something." I had none of that. That whole ordeal was more of a apathy was the symptom of my depression.
mm,
Didn't care about any of that. And then watching everybody fighting online, with the politics being dictated, telling who to hate who, and
mm.
and then watching all the paintbrushes, all the painters pick up that crap and start fighting online and stuff. I'm like, you guys are missing the point. We're here to make smiles. And yeah, and then losing everything was, like, so great in a way, and then, because I had this choice of, "Okay, then what would I do? If we started all over, all the face painting businesses are all done because faces have been canceled. And so if I'm gonna start all over again, which I'm gonna have to start all over with my face painting business again." So that's when I started doing the prosthetic work, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I can get more into the mask and the prosthetics." Because I go to these prosthetic shows and I know with the new line of Wuchi or Nearly Dead or what any of these companies that make the mask, what's coming out? What do they have? Well, nobody's got a realistic vampire bat vampire with that weird big flower nose and the split lip and all that stuff. So I made that. Nobody's got an octopus. Nobody's got just a plain. Okay, do an octopus. I did Mortal Kombat. I did a werewolf. I did a fish man, like I was going after this Cthulhu H.P. Lovecraft look, and then I couldn't get the mold open, so I worked for a long time on this chunk of concrete, and then I started making those masks, and then that's when Jade invited me over, and then she was just new into the face painting. She'd only been doing
Mhm.
it for a couple years, so she was well hungry, well thirsty, wants to do WBF, wants to do everything.
Did she
And
reignite the
so
passion for your face
absolutely.
painting?
Well, well, she's still dragging me along sometimes, I
Yeah,
feel, but I'm grateful for it
yeah.
because it's just like painting a birthday when you're having a bad day. It's like the show must
Mm.
go on, and nobody gives a shit about your problem. So it's like you got your wife going, "Come on, we got a dog, we got kids, we got a
Yeah.
freaking studio, we got to do this." It's like
You got a
you're
wedding
right,
now.
honey. You're right, huh?
How would you describe the creative dynamic between the two of you? Because you now have your company, don't you? The Witch and the Wolf. Do you work jobs together as well?
Yeah, well, I feel like she has a higher standard than me, which is
Mm,
a really great influence. Like a higher standard for getting paid, a higher standard for having your kit look presentable, having
mm,
all the proper signage, because it's way stricter in England. You don't have to have insurance. You don't have to have any of that crap in the States. You don't have to have the three rinse buckets or the bag of clean sponges that you don't at Disney. You don't have to have that. We call the CDC. And they're like, are you kidding? Every ride in this place has got so much poop and boogers on the
oh,
rails from these kids. Are you kidding? You think face paint is going to hurt somebody? Nah, don't worry about it. Just do your best. Your best. Keep the water clean, change it regularly and you'll be fine. And in those 5 years I did that, no one ever complained. No one
mm.
ever got pink eye. No one ever called the company and sued or nothing like that. Never a complaint. So I came over here like that. They're like, "No, no, we have we
No, no,
have
no, no, no.
standards in England." Standards? I'm a safe state cowboy. What are you talking about? Standards. Rub some dirt in it, drink some water, walk it off. You'll be fine. I put face paint in my eye. I've eaten more than all you kids put together. You kidding?
Is there anything you've learned from Jade that's changed the way you work apart from hygiene from the sounds of it?
Hygiene, professionalism. And I really admire Jade, I don't know, teaching me about face painting. No, I think one of the reasons work is she loves face painting and she learned from me, but it's not in the way you would think. Like everybody's like, "Oh, you get lessons, face painting lessons," you know. She's never sat down for face painting lessons. It's just it happens when you paint together, doesn't it? And you get stuck on something. I took her to Fantasy Fest over in Key West, and like she got booked a black leather jacket, like a biker jacket. And it's like she's never painted a jacket, she's never painted leather, she's never painted any of that stuff. But she jumps in with both feet, you
Mm,
know. Okay, well, let's get the black on there. You know, she starts going. And she's like, "What would you do?" And then that's when I go, right, here's the zipper stencil. You know, here's
mm.
this straight edge. Do this and this and this and on these corners. And that's when it happens. It's very spontaneous. And then I show her stuff like that, and she's teaching me about, well, how it's done in England, yeah, I think that's one thing that makes the partnership really work, one of the
What's
things.
next for The Witch and the Wolf then?
The studio in the back. We bought a studio, but it was before well, lots of stuff has happened since then, but we need to get electrics in and
Mm,
make it really nice, so we just bought a shed, an 8 by 10, so all the storage stuff and all the non-perishable stuff is all going into that after the wedding and everything gets sorted out. And then we're gonna have the studio, so we're gonna be doing, workshops from there, and
cool.
certainly a lot more creating and building and, I don't know, more room for to do headdresses, and yeah,
Do you
the
still do
workshop.
birthday parties and
Yeah, advertise more for that. Well, now people know I'm in town now.
yeah.
Like, I got a gig at the Whipsnade Zoo, and I did that, the other week, but it's like even at home even back in Orlando, I had a hard time getting birthday parties because
Mm,
anytime somebody called me up, I was never home, you know, and definitely wasn't available that weekend that they wanted or whatever, you know, so but now that I'm here and I'm not really going anywhere, I don't really have much planned for the next 3 years. Hopefully, it'll start rolling in.
mm.
And we got advertisements, you know, we're gonna it's season now. The season's just starting, isn't it?
What's one piece of advice you'd give to a face painter listening today?
The piece of advice would be, yeah, I guess compare your work to your own work, you know, make a commitment to excellence. I never tried to be famous. That was never the goal. The
Mm,
goal was trying to make the coolest face paint ever. The goal was try to make books and create educational courses to make other people better. That is a thing. If you are looking at the industry and trying to fulfill the needs and not just trying to knock off something somebody else is doing or somehow fill in your own plate. Try to help other people, and then they will instinctively try to help you.
mm.
My goal is to make everybody a great painter.
What do you think separates good painters from great painters?
The good painter make really beautiful designs. The great painters make really good designs and contribute to the industry.
That's
How about that?
that's a
Right?
good answer. I
'Cause
like it.
you could say like, "Well, yeah, Nick's a good painter, but, you know, what about this person? This person paints better than Nick, so he's a better painter than Nick." And I'd say, "Well, what about all the books? How many books did this person make? How
Mm.
many courses? How what have they have they contributed to the industry as much as I have? You know, doesn't that count?" Of course it does, 'cause
Well,
that's the
you've been name dropped in this podcast about 4 times over the episodes of everyone saying, "Oh, well, I'll never be as good as Nick Wolf, but I'm good in this way." So I think you're seen as the OG, aren't you?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It was even amazing back at the beginning because we were like, "What the heck?" To us, it was so obvious. We're like, "There is no other guys." So we got this like, girls don't paint skulls. They just
Mm,
don't, you know? They paint unicorns, they paint flowers, they paint butterflies, and they do them wonderfully, and swirls and curls and teardrops and all that stuff that I learned from their masters. they suck at skulls, and that's what
Yeah.
I've done. That's what I made my living off of,
Yeah.
teaching girls
That's
how to
why
paint
I've signed
skulls.
up to your masterclass because I was like, I need to be better at these Halloween designs.
Yeah,
So
that yeah.
learn from the best, eh?
I I don't know what I did to luck into this, but I think it was about that openness and that willingness because all my makeup artists at Universals were all making fun of us. They were taking shots
Mm,
because they were like, where me and Brian weren't afraid. We're like, well, we don't have to go this way. Here's this. It's still monster face painting. That's what we wanted to do is paint, make monsters. Now it's little kids at a theme park, but it's still fun.
mm,
Whereas, you don't know where it's gonna take you. But it's like I don't think I knew the way it was gonna go, but I was open for it, I knew I knew that some things I wanted, but it wasn't necessarily the way. It's like, of course I wanted to see the world.
mm,
Of course I wanted to make monsters. Of course I wanted to, be surrounded by women, but I didn't know it was gonna be with face painting, and if I hadn't have took that leap of faith, even when me and Brian quit our jobs to go start with Wolf FX, that was a big deal. We didn't get
mm,
paid. We were on ramen noodles and electricity getting turned off for a long time with that company. That's why they owed us so much money at the end, is because it was a startup company. They didn't have the money to pay us, or I assume they did.
You were starting from scratch today with no audience, no reputation, no worldwide connections. What would you focus on first in terms of face painting?
I suppose, and everything is just the way it is right now. I think it's the publications. If I had to start over and I didn't exist before, that's the
Mm,
thing. I'm like I start over every day. If I
mm,
didn't exist before, me and Brian didn't exist, and our books weren't out there, well, then the face painters would need a lot more books. When we started doing that, when I was a little kid, I had a monster makeup book, and I still have the original one around here somewhere, but, uh, there was none. There's no
mm,
monster face painting books. There's no monster makeup books. Like Tom Savini had one book and taught us how to make, veneers, how to make fake teeth,
yeah.
and it inspired us to do some of our effects, in our videos, but we were like, "The world needs a monster makeup book to learn how to do Creature from the Black Lagoon and Alien and Dracula and Wolfman and The Mummy," and that was the inspiration. It didn't exist before. So if it still didn't exist, that's exactly what I go to because I think that's what made the biggest impact.
Mm,
And plus, it's like it doesn't matter what anybody paints now when it comes to monsters. You can say it's derivative because I published it,
yeah.
right? There's my watermark. I don't have to put a watermark on it. It's like it's history.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's been printed on paper, and so when all the computers crash, they might still, the books might still be around.
What does success look like to you now?
Yeah, I'm here. I have a wonderful wife. I got a business that is got so much potential and so much to grow in the directions I want to go. I got stepdaughters. I got dogs. I got a garden where I grow vegetables. I got a
Mm,
studio. I'm gonna be making stuff. I've got a family, a wonderful family over here that loves me and appreciates me and is grateful for me and needs me. That's very important. And yeah, and this is one I would tell your watchers and all the face painters when things were going with Wolf effects, let's say, and that when it was really, really turning, and we were striving to make it this thing or and create the books and all that stuff. It's like we didn't realize at the time that those were the good old days. That was the best time, was the going for it, was the sacrificing, was the staying up late, was the all that to make this thing. It's like having the thing is one thing, but it's like the making it, that's the fun part. Yeah, you get to take a picture and you get to put it on Facebook and stuff, but it's like the process of a body painting where you're talking with your model and you're creating it and you're making it and it's getting better and better and better and better. And it's like that's the good part. And so, but we didn't realize it back then. Like appreciate it when they're here. Me and Jade aren't the witch and the wolf isn't the global phenomenon that
yet.
it's gonna be. yet, but and now I know that building it is the best
Mhm.
part. Enjoy it while it's happening.
Okay, let's start wrapping up the episode with a
Yep,
nice quick fire round. So
yep.
try not to overthink the answers. Okay, so tea or coffee?
Coffee, but since I moved to England, I've certainly learned to appreciate tea.
Uh,
Favorite, sometimes a cuppa. Yeah, Jade, I'll have a cuppa.
What's the most underrated item in your kit?
The cotton buds.
Okay.
Yeah, cotton buds are great for they're just I cut them in half, and then I use them for disposable lipstick applicators that you can make pretty perfect, circles with the fuzzy end by
Oh,
spinning 'em.
yeah.
The other end, you can make tiny little dots, and if you use the plastic ones, you can make tiny little bubbles because it makes a circle because it's hollow, right? You stick that into the white and you go "doo, doo, doo," and you can make tiny little bubbles. It's also a great eraser. You just
Mm,
get it wet, and then you can correct these little, mistakes that can happen
I love it. I
to
love
other
it.
people, not me, but I'm just saying it's a good rule.
No, I'm adding
Case
those to my kit. I don't have cotton buds in my kit. I don't know why I've never thought of that.
And we call them Q-tips back in the States
Q-tips.
because that's the brand. Just like, "Hey, can you Xerox me a copy of this?" It's actually a copy, it's not a Xerox. Xerox is the brand, but it's associated with the product, so we call Q-tips, yeah.
What's one design that you've painted more than any other?
I will say skull, but that is with I've painted all just as many Spider-Man and butterfly and
Mm,
tigers as every face painter. Those are the top, right? But because I taught skull so much, there were definitely years where I was painting skulls all the time and not doing any birthday parties or theme parks. So it's the same as everybody else, what I paint the most. Except for my skull classes. I painted more skull.
what's your favorite brush?
Round number 3.
Nice. What's your favorite body paint that you've ever created?
That's
Silly.
the that's the hard one. I had some really good times doing yeah, I don't know.
You
That
can't
that
pick.
that one's too hard. 'Cause it's so personal, isn't it?
Mm.
There's a relationship with your model and a relationship with the people you're painting with, you know? I would pick the winning body paint when me and Brian did it, when we won the worlds
Mm.
with the dinosaurs and the theme was spirituality, and we had to do dinosaurs. Yeah, let's do that one. And we painted dinosaurs, and they didn't get it. And we had been, like I said, we've been reading all these self-help books, and so we spun this story with rock, and it was spirituality. So everybody had birds and candles and books and flowers and religious, iconography and things like that. And ours was dinosaur, and they
Nice.
were like, "Spin it, let's hear it. How the heck does this have anything to do with spirituality?" And I won't, I know we're wrapping it up, but we killed him with the story and yeah. And then everybody else was telling us, "Oh, here's how you know you win the WBF."
What's
Uh,
um what's one design you're secretly fed up of painting?
what am I secretly fed up with painting? Oh, I don't think I'm secretly fed up with painting of anything. What do I hate? I just did a
Nothing.
birthday party recently. I had a ball.
Yeah.
I did a dragon, I did a unicorn, fairy princess, I did it was awesome, just like back in the day, and, I'm not sick of anything because I never do a lot of everything, right? I'm doing the airbrush at the fair, I'm doing the body painting at the show, I'm doing the costumes at home, I'm not doing anything a lot all by itself, so I still love it all.
What's the best convention you've ever attended?
Best convention? Oh, I didn't see that question. What's the best convention I ever attended? Let me give a shout out to Mexico, and here's why. It was SEMA because one, they had AV there that was like 4K, and all you had to do was walk up on stage and paint your model, and the audience could see the pores. They could
Wow.
see the peach fuzz on the girl's face pop up after the paint dried,
I bet
like
she was delighted with that. She
it
was
wasn't that the
thrilled.
hairs were too long, they were just but that was amazing, and then the way they worked together, there must have been 100 of us, and we were in
Mm.
this tiny kinda little hall, and we were kinda like shoulder to shoulder, and they're like, "Right, we're gonna have groups of 8 people paint on one model or something like that. So we're all like this in these groups, and everybody got along great. Everybody painted. They worked together like so. Like, man, if that would have happened in America, there would have been some fun. Yeah, you're in my space. I was going to paint that. No, they all just got along. So it was so fun. It was so easy, so laid back. And then they gave me this big styrofoam beer with this weird the salty, what is that, tahine syrup on it. Oh man, it was magic.
Monster or superhero?
Monster.
I knew the answer to
Monster or
that one.
anything.
I wrote it and
Monster
then
or
I thought,
anything. It's monster.
of course it's monsters. What's one painter that everyone should learn from?
What's one painter that everyone should learn from? For me.
Fair
Are
play.
you kidding? We haven't even scratched the iceberg. I've got 30 something years of experience. I painted at 37 different countries. I painted at Playboy Mansion. I did that's over. There is no more Playboy Mansion. I I, I was painting before the internet. I can I was my self-help journey going from my depression of getting kicked out of my marriage and my house and my family for being a face painter
Mm.
all the way to being king of the face painter. And was reading self-help books on the way. And the way that I did it was by doing what the self-help books told me to do. I got something to say. I got stuff to teach. I'd have to write a book to tell
Well,
you
do you know what
all
I
the
was going to say?
crazy stories that happened to me and Brian.
Have you considered writing a memoir?
We did. We had 1,100 pages when he or 1,100 words when he got sick.
Mm,
We
you
were
should
writing them.
finish it.
I know. It would be a self-help book, but I could do but see, all the self-help books are the same book. They're just in different vocabulary,
Mm,
different, like, gimmicks, but I would write it in face painter language. I would write it all the scenarios involve face painting or face painters, so it's
mm.
like every face painter would get it, but you wouldn't have to be a face painter to get it because 'cause they're universal truths. They're natural laws. They're yeah.
I think we've
They're
just found your next project.
no, the next one. That's the one where I can't bend over and paint kids anymore,
Oh
and then
dear.
it dictate to AI or whatever, and I could just tell my freaking life story to them instead of you or to the AI and put it together. Just
Well,
ramble stories. You know that's gonna be a thing, right?
I
We
know.
just talk
I know. The
about your past
AI can
and
already write a book if you can ask it to write you a book from stuff
yep,
that's out there. But
I'll just talk to it for a year, and then hey, stop me if you've heard this one before, AI. Yeah, me and some face painters, we were in Tijuana, Mexico.
what's your most memorable painting disaster?
I was talking to Jade about this, and it would just have to be the body of work, the going to the fair and airbrushing, and when the airbrush explodes and the air and the paint squirt out of the bottle. Do you airbrush it all?
No. No, I saw
Out
Wiser
there.
doing it at the jam and I was like, "Oh my god, this looks amazing." And then I thought, "Nope, stick with what I'm doing for now. I've got enough going on at the moment."
Well, there are certain conditions that will make the airbrush violently expel the makeup
Mm,
onto the child's outfit, and yeah, it's ruined. It's
yeah,
ruined.
yeah.
Yeah,
But the
and so
parents
then,
love it.
like, well, I've gotten away with it every time. I've given refunds before for that, and I think that's the most I've ever had to pay for that mistake, but yeah, that sucks when you're like, "Oh, no." Like, it goes and then you have to look around survey the damage. I'm like, "I didn't feel any good on me." And the color depends on the severity and things like that, black ain't coming out. The black ain't.
What's one word that sums up your career so far?
I'm gonna have to say legendary. It's gonna go long after me. They're gonna be talking about the Wolf Brothers and face
Yeah.
painting for longer than I'm gonna be around. And I've heard legendary before, and it's a big deal. But in face painting, I there are few people who have made as big an impact
Mm,
as me, right? Have have worked so hard and made such a difference because to be honest, all face painting sucked 30 years ago. Everybody sucked. Everybody. And the level has gone through the roof in the
Mm.
last 30 years. And just a brand new animal now. And now I just saw somebody came up with a new type of brush to make the one strokes better. I'm like, I got one. I'm like, I can't wait. It's a essential brush called the Swoop or something like that. I'm like,
Look at
we're
that.
still innovating. Yes, make it easier on me. I'm not that good at one stroke.
Right. So last question. 20 years
Yep.
from now, when people look back at the history of face and body art, what do you hope they'll say that Nick Wolfe contributed to the industry?
That something along the line of that's what he did do. He contributed. He gave everything that he had to help this industry. He's always shared his knowledge freely and didn't wasn't gatekeeping anything, holding anything back, anything like that. Just gave his life over to face painting because, to be honest, face painting saved my life. So that's
Mm.
why I'm dedicated to that art. And, well, it's the second oldest industry on the planet, isn't it? I mean, that's some job security, right? It's still gonna be around, you know? It's like, hey, you know, there we were painting on each other before we were, you know, making houses,
Mm.
right? Before we were making cars, before we were going to the moon, none of that stuff, right? We were body painting before all that, and so we still are. So I've got a lot of confidence that we're going to keep going, and it'll around as long as people are around.
Where can people follow your work and find you?
Well, we got a brand new website, just dropped it,
Hmm.
thewitchandthewolf.com, and that's where you can book us. And we're starting to work on filling up the gallery. And there are links to our social media on that website. And I have this external hard drive where before Brian got sick, we were about to release another book. And then we have all our self-published book on that too. So
Hmm.
I'm going to start selling ebooks and doing classes on that website and having step by steps. And we're just getting started. So the
Lots
witch
of
and the
exciting
wolf.
things. I'll put the links in the description. And you've got masterclass coming up on 20th of July, is it?
Yep,
Yeah,
I think
Monday the
so.
20th of July, up in Telford.
Yep, that's going to
Jade.
be awesome.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
yeah, they're exciting now because I don't do them all the time now.
Yeah.
But it's like riding a bike. I just get back in and let's go. I got some new ideas too.
Well,
So
thank you so, so much for
thank you
coming on the
so much for
podcast.
having me. And yeah, we'll see you Monday, I guess.
Yeah, I'll see you next month.
That's it for today's episode of Sponge Stories. If you found this helpful or it made you think, oh, thank God it's not just me, I'd love for you to share it with another face painter who needs to hear it. Don't forget to follow or subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. There's plenty more real talk and a bit more waffle coming your way. And if you've got a story, a question, or you'd even like to come on the podcast, you can email me at hello@spongecommunity.co.uk or send us a DM over on Instagram, Sponge Stories.